Hi guys, Tugo here with a new video, and this video is the updated solo shuffle tier list video that I wanted to make. I don't think it warrants a full-on 50 minutes video, so I'm going to talk about the tier list I've made previously. I'm going to make some changes based on that tier list. So I'm going to work about the tier list I produced, and I'm going to change a few specs here and there, and also give you why I'm actually moving some specs towards S, A, B, C, D tier, and tanks are going to stay in tanks. So I wanted to preface that I don't think the meta has changed too much. There is still like a clear S tier, a clear A tier, a clear B tier. And I think for now the D's and the C's don't really warrant like a change into the meta. I think Mistweaver is still C tier. I think Holy Priest is also very much C tier right now. Enhancement Shaman untouched. But let's talk about Marksmanship Hunter. I did play a lot of Marksmanship Hunter these days. Before the patch, but also after the patch, and it does feel better. At least the damage feels alright. I think the main problem about Marksmanship Hunter, which is the same problem as Survival and BM, is actually surviving damage. You have the tools, but every time you're going to use those tools, you're actually signing up to actually die the next go. While there is a lot of classes that actually can do their defensives and they're not going to die next go, for example. But Marksmanship Hunter is definitely not D tier right now. I think they are actually B tier. I think they are actually good. They are not bad. Definitely, excuse me, they're definitely not bad. They are actually doing some pretty good damage. There is like two builds you can go on. You can go for a quasi full haste build, or like a semi haste, semi mastery, and there's also a third build which is probably the least played because it does feel like not super good to play around. It is a full mastery build. Most people are going to play like full haste because they do play BM, for example, and full haste is kind of good on BM and on survival as well. But the half mastery, half haste could also be used because of a switch on rings and also your neck. The 4-set is not that terrible for MM, but it's also not that good either. I think the 2-set is good, like it's a bleed damage, you're going to notice it over a course of the match. And the 4-set is pretty much like a crit percentage, like being 100% on arcane shot or multi-shot, which is nice because it's more reliable to do more damage, but it is not going to be a game changer either. So it is a B tier. I think it does a lot of good damage. I don't think it is a meta build, like a meta class, meta spec in social. It does feel like it is very player specific. If the player is very good, you're going to see a good Marksmanship Hunter. Is the Marksmanship Hunter bad, then he's going to feel like a D tier spec. That's pretty much my take. Now I want to talk about a few S tiers right here. I feel like Preservation Evoker is even better right now because of the changes to Living Flame and such. And there is a Living Flame build that is actually very usable in Social, and he will top off like a lot of people. You can also do a lot of damage with it. I think Preservation Evoker is still very strong. The BM Hunters, they are actually pretty decent. Their nerf is really not that bad, and they do get a 5% buff overall, so it is definitely one of a kind spec. It is very strong, very player dependent though. If you're missing traps, it is terrible, but there is a lot of BM hunters that actually know how to trap. They're slowing their target first, or they're going to stun target first, or they're going to fake a trap and then they're going to use death at that very moment. They're going to trap, and that's it. It's a one game, for example. So BM Hunter definitely stays S tier. Elemental Shaman, definitely S tier right now. They are unchanged, basically. They are very strong. I think overall, even for next patch, which is 10.0.5, they don't really seem to get hit on a nerf. It's very hard to actually see what they can change to Elemental Shaman to make it more in line. But I want to say, and I want to preface again, that it is also very player dependent. You will see some elemental shamans being very terrible, and they might win some, but they are not going to go 6-0. And then you have like a godly elemental shaman that doesn't seem to cost, but still does top damage of the lobby, and actually ends up 6-0 in most melee lobbies. And melee lobbies, you would think elemental shaman are quite bad, but it is actually in contrary, they are not able to escape from the damage that you're actually producing. Or for example, a caster can basically play the pillar if they really do not want to get damaged by the elemental shaman. Demon Hunter, having Demon Hunter is still S tier for me in social. Their utility, their defenses are very strong. They are not really hit on the nerf, because the nerf was on a talent that wasn't used. It was actually a possibility to cheese, but nobody really played that cheesy build, so remains unchanged. Assassination Rogue, although they got like a fix on their double wound poisoning death mark, I still think it's very, very annoying to play versus an Assassination Rogue if you're a caster. Mind numbing is so much worse to play against. But also just in general, you have like double shiv, you have AoE shiv if you really want to play with the AoE one. You can also play without it, of course, and still go with a lot of damage, but double poison, like quadruple poison, basically is just too strong, and I think they should maybe nerf it in PvP somehow, some way. I don't know how they could, like maybe half the mind. Maybe they should just nerf mind numbing, or just remove it straight and rework it. And for same for Curse of Tongues and such, I think those abilities are just not fun to play against, especially for healers that doesn't really have a D curse. It's pretty much like a doom. Like Curse of Tongues is like basically unremovable, and mind numbing is also unremovable because a lot of poisons are just dispellable but reapplied directly. So very annoying to play like with and against. I think Arms Warrior are still A tier. I can understand what people would say that they are S tier, but really in social environments you are very, very lobby dependent, and I also said that in the previous like tier list. I think they just deserve the A tier. They are very close to S tier, although they got nerfed on their potential more strike damage. Actually, the overpower does give you more consistent damage, so I think you are very, very lucky with the amount of changes. I play myself Arms Warrior. I think Unholy DK, I might have misjudged it these days. They are very strong still, but they might be maybe B tier or on the verge of B tier. I'm going to let them at A tier because I think they are not as strong, but it's basically because they're gate capped by, for example, BM Hunters, Assassination Rogues, Arms Warriors. They are all very good versus Unholy DKs, and you do see them very often, especially at higher rated games. So I don't think Unholy DK is as strong, as prominent as before, but Unholy DK is one of good solution if you're playing versus an Elemental Shaman. But whenever you have double casters, even with Spell Warden, it's actually nerfed, so it's not as good. But even with AMS, that shield is just going to get blown up. It's pretty much a touch of karma without the damage. At least it feels like that. And they are especially good versus dot, like damage dealers, like for example, Shadow Priests, Affliction Warlocks, but they are not like as popular as before, so I feel like Unholy DKs do deserve still the A tier. I think Fury Warriors, I did misjudge it. I think they're B tier, maybe on close on C tier. I might as well put it in C tier, but I still believe that Fury Warrior, being a warrior that is actually like having a lot of uptime, is somewhat good. So I'm going to put it in B tier. So you see some drop here. I think Shadow Priest, they are still very strong in social. They are going to stay like this. Survivor Hunter, A tier. Really, they are close to S tier. The damage with the Forset, which is now more prominent in those games, with the Vault being active, but also the Catalyst. You see a lot of players actually having Forset, and Survivor Hunter does a lot of damage. I think the main problem of Survivor Hunter is basically the same as MM and BM, where they have difficulty surviving, and that's pretty much the main point. But I have to judge the potential of the class, not only the reality of the field, because if I'm playing like on a 1600 MMR, or I'm playing with a 2.4 or 2.6k MMR with my Destruction Warlock, for example, it's a world of difference. The survival hunter in 2.6, he knows how to trap, he knows how to do damage, he knows how to survive. While on a 1.6k MMR, I feel like the survival hunter just goes in, dies directly, and sometimes does a trap, but even then they're even like missing those traps. So there is a huge difference between a very good survival hunter and a very bad one. So I think still deserves the A tier because of the potential that it has overall. Windwalker unchanged, I think still A tier, very strong. They can carry games by themselves. Destruction Warlock, I talked about it extensively, but right now I've played a lot of games today on Destruction Warlock, and I think the Bane of Havoc nerf is, I would say, weighing much more than the Chaos Bolt buffs. The problem is with Chaos Bolt is it is not super easy to cast because people are interrupting you, mini CCing you, you put your circle down, you're getting knocked off, you're getting stunned, feared, and then interrupted, and then a silence. I mean, all those things makes it very hard to actually have a lot of Chaos Bolts active. And although whenever you do a Chaos Bolt and you get a 100k or 110k Chaos Bolt, it does feel nice. But it feels like doing double Shadow Burn would have been probably better for me because, again, the cast time, getting interrupted, having to fake, all those things has been a very good learning process where I feel like, look, maybe I should not persevere with Chaos Bolts even though they got a 24.5% buff. I think if you are able to do double conflag, double shadow burn into multiple incinerates, and they're not going to kick on your incinerates because they are like afraid of your chaos bolts, it's a win. And if they do kick incinerate, then you can actually do chaos bolts. But even then, they're going to stop you with stuns, interrupts, not interrupts with fears, whatever. And you will see yourself actually do more shadow burns and more like instant damage, damage. But I'm going to actually talk about it in a future video with a updated build that I'm playing right now. But I feel like Destruction Warlock is in a very good state. I think still top 3, top 4, top 5. It depends on how you see it. Caster in the game. And whenever I'm saying top 5, I think casters are very strong in Soul Shuffle. More than you will know, because you will get it if you're playing around 2.2, 2.3, 2.4, or even 2.1. I would say from 2k, you will see a lot more casters because they are actually very strong. They can actually give a lot of CC some meaning. While, for example, Warrior, they can Stormbolt a healer, they can Fear off a healer, but they have to take so much risks, and often than not, they want to Stormbolt the main target so they can actually do and pull off their damage. A Warlock doesn't have that problem, for example, they can Fear off. A Shadow Priest can actually use all their CC on the healer. A Mage can Polymorph, Silence, whatever. They can do a lot of great things just by their presence. And I think casters are in a very good state, although sometimes a bit obnoxious for melees, but I think the melees, just in general, the survivability in this game is very, very low. And you just see that whenever you're in open play and you don't have defensives, you get glacials for 200k. I mean, it is what it is, right? But the damage is very high. Frost Mage, I think, still A tier. They're very strong. I see a lot more of them lately. Demonology, with all those bugs at this moment, because I did play a bit of Demonology these days. They can still solo carry games because of their CC, but I feel like the Pit Lord or the Tyrant actually bugging out. I saw like one time I did a Pit Lord and the Pit Lord did like zigzags. He didn't hit, like he was changing targets every single time. I don't know how it was like this because I was always focusing on one target, but it was like zigzagging and I didn't get like one hit from the Pit Lord, which is actually very sad. So I think I will have to drop them into the good tier, which is not bad, but I think just in general they are not like that good. Affliction Warlock, I think I'm going to keep it at B tier. I think it's going to be better because of the backlash damage, but I think the meta is still not suited for them, at least in Soul Shuffle. I think if you're going to play Shadow Play in trees, for example, or you're going to play with Unholy Decays or whatever, you can make it work, but I think Destruction Warlock is just much better right now because of the meta. You want to do instant damage, you want to be able to do instant casts. Affliction Warlock, they need to have a lot of prep before they actually do a lot of damage, so it's a bit iffy. Devastation Evoker, I'm going to keep it at B. I think the nerfs to before this patch actually hit them pretty hard. actual potential for one-shotting, which is good, I guess. But right now, I think it's going to be still B tier. Balanced Druid, I think I overshot it a bit. Maybe not, actually. I'm going to keep it at A tier. Whenever I'm playing with my Destruction Warlock, I despise games with Balanced Druid, for example. Same for my Warrior. And then whenever I'm playing my Hunter, I do love Balanced Druids because they are so easy. I can just free them targets. I mean, I guess it still deserves A tier because of the damage. He can actually do some pretty good damage, so I think I'm going to keep it at A tier. Resto Druid, I think the nerfs kind of hit them pretty hard. They're still good, but people are actually like keeping up now with Resto Druids. And Discipline Priest being that much stronger is a good counter to us Resto Druid. And Resto Druid being that passive and not actually being able to play aggressively makes for interesting games, actually. Where the Resto Druid, they are a bit like a viewer, I would say. They are like passive, they can win games because of a good cyclone, but that doesn't really happen that often. And often than not, the players actually catch on, so they can actually switch on targets, and a target without HOTS to reapply all those HOTS costs a lot of mana, and often than not, you can see a Resto Druid being while for example Disc Priest being 50% mana, which is actually mind-boggling, but good for them, right? Resto Shaman actually got a bit of a nerf. It does feel like their healing throughput is not as like cutting anymore, I would say. Like it isn't as sharp. But it still has potential. Again, if you have to rate potential, Resto Shaman should be very good. But the problem is people just don't see the Earth Wall or the Earth Wall Totem, which is very difficult for the Shaman because a lot of power is actually given to that totem instead of healing. So whenever people just walk away from it, it becomes very hard for them to actually survive, to not survive, but to actually give people like some survivability. Also, the nerf to the root from the Unleashed shield has made it a bit difficult for people to actually keep people into the actual water unleash, which is basically minus 50% healing, minus 50% damage. It's a MS effect and also a damage reduction ability, which is actually insane. But people just notice it and now just walk away from it. It is better to reset instead of just staying and trying to fight it, because it's a losing game, right? So now you're not rooted for 4 seconds anymore. It's easier to just run away now. So I guess that's a big nerf, but I'm still thinking it's one of the better healers right now. On the B tiers, I think I'm going to keep it like that. I think Outlaw, they are pretty C tier, man. I'm going to explain why. First and foremost, Outlaws, they are not very good versus casters. They are actually very bad. And problem is, melees, they are good, but they are not as tanky as in Shadowlands, and they do get punished pretty quickly. Again, relying on blind is very nice, but it is not like a trap. It's not like every 25 seconds you have a trap. 30 seconds on LDR, of course. While blind is pretty much every minute if you talent for it. Like 1.5 minute or whatever. But the problem is people are breaking it. So then you have like that one gimmick that you have, which is gone. The burst rotation is very impressive. It can do burst, but it will need like 8 GCDs before you can actually do that amount of burst. You also have to have luck on your buffs. It's very hard to actually play an outlaw rogue right now, so I think it's just underpowered. C tier is underpowered. Fire mages, for me, they're very good. I'm going to say they're very good. I don't think they're going to be on the same tier as frost mage, but they have to so actually be still a very good like caster in general. Holy Paladin, they are going to drop to the C tier. The nerfs towards the actual Avenging Crusader, so basically the melee wings, is quite massive. You do feel it that now they really struggle with healing whenever they can actually face versus big bursty players. Also, they're very easy to target. Whenever they are melee, you just target them, they insta bubble, and then they have to play like they have to backpedal, not really literally, but they have to play like super scared. And at that very moment, playing scared as a healer just results as a C tier. Like Mistweaver, they can play Fist Weaving. With Fist Weaving, I would say it's A tier because people don't know how to play against. But the few people that know how to play against, they do make them pretty useless. Casting is still very bad for healers, so it's very hard to actually like put them any higher because if they get kicked, that's it. But for example, Disc Priest, they've been getting kicked on penance, no problem. I can Mind Blast, for example. Or Chism or Mind Games. While Mistweavers, they are like they're sitting trying to fake, and whenever you fake cast, your healing is actually quite shit. So it's a losing game for them. Holy Priest, I think the healing throughput is still bad. I think it's good, but in Social Fall, it's the dampening is way too strong to actually keep up, and you are always like on the back foot, always, always, always. And you can play aggressive, and you can make it work. But I think if you're facing a Disc Priest that knows how he actually can ruin you, he will ruin you. So for me, it's a easy C tier. Frost Decay, like I said, they got changed, but not too much. I think the design is there where, again, if the stats are correct, they're going to be S tier, and if the stats are not correct, they're going to be big C tier. And it doesn't help that they are really a setup class where they do like to play with setup based specs, like for example Devastation Evoker or a Windwalker. But you do not get always the right comps at Social Fall, and you do like feel it at your expense. That's pretty much my take. So overall, we didn't really have a lot of changes towards the tier list, but I wanted to talk about, like, again, the few changes that were made for this patch. I don't think there is much change. Like you can say maybe Warrior's a bit S tier, but really not, because again, Warrior just gets destroyed by the whole cast of S tiers. Assassination Rogue, they just eat arms. Demon Hunt, like Havoc Demon Hunter, they're very slippery, and actually, like, if they Havoc doesn't get stunned, they don't die. Elemental Shaman, it's obnoxious to play against. BM Hunter, obnoxious to play against. Preservation Evoker, you can actually kill them, but since they changed the communion to not being interruptible because of fear, it feels a bit worse to play against. And Disc Priest, they are just too good with damage reduction, with actually having 2 schools of spells and being able to play so aggressive that you have to leap away. I think Warriors just deserve the A tier right now. But let me know what you think about this tier list. It doesn't really change too much, but I wanted to give my insight and why I do not make like a lengthy 1-hour tier list I always make and try to make. There's not much to discuss, right? I just want to know that, let you know that really the meta at the moment is pretty sealed until they get like the big heavy hitters nerfed. Once Assassination Elemental Shaman is nerfed, you will see a lot of changes towards Arms Warrior, Windwalker, Unholy DKs, Feral Druids being a lot higher on the tier list. But right now, the S tiers are actually putting the A tiers down to a certain extent where you have clear god tiers, and then you have clear meta, and then you have like some good situational specs, like for example Subtlety Rogue, Affliction Walks are very good versus casters, for example, but you are not facing always versus casters, and whenever you're facing melees and they can one-shot people, you don't really have a lot of ramp up time. While for example casters, you can actually play a pillar game where you do not have to commit too much, and whenever you have to commit, you have your dust ready to actually roll and do damage. So yeah, again, please let me know what you think about this tier list. Let me know what you think about the meta. Again, thank you for watching this video. Thank you for the unending support that you are actually giving to me. It's actually insane, and I really love it, and I'm very grateful for it. Be sure to like the video if you like the video, and we will catch each other very soon in the next video. Have a great day. Bye.